works. So make sure it actually went live. Should be live at the moment. It's gonna take like a 30-second delay. There we go. Perfect. So yeah, we got about 10 minutes. So the way I have my script ran, so basically it's gonna be some basic stuff. I'm gonna start with. What is up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Nothing But Professional. We are live every single Wednesday and Friday at 12:30 Mountain Standard Time, and right now on the Nothing But Professional YouTube channel. If you want to keep up with all my social media, links are below, and also the new usernames are right below me. The one that is wrong right now is the Jacob Terrell Reporter for Twitter. We're going to get that changed really quick. It's just at Terrell Reporter. If you want to be able to see all the work I have done as a journalist, including podcasts, some different stories, and some YouTube videos, make sure to check out my website at www.jacobterrell.com. And lastly, if you don't want to miss a show, subscribe to the channel and make sure to hit that notification button to get notified when I go live. So with all that being said, let's jump right into the show. Today, we do have a special friend of mine joining us on the show. He's worked for NAZ Today, K-Jack Radio, and the Lumberjack here at NAU. He is also the creator of his own website called The Rich Report, where you can read some of his opinion pieces on different sports topics, and he also talks about movies and different TV shows and gives his reaction to those. So with all that being said, let's give a warm welcome to Cameron Richardson. Hey Cameron, how you doing today, brother?
Doing good, Jacob. How are you? I have a little bit of issue with the audio, but
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I'm trying to put in my headphones and they're not working with my laptop right now.
So Cam, how have you been lately? What you been doing since the quarantine? I know we're both huge sports fans. It's been kind of crazy, and we haven't had a lot of things to watch lately. How you been?
I've been doing whatever a sports fan can do, watching replays. I wrote a couple of pieces, doing some movie and album reviews. I think I'm going to do some classic album reviews as well, too. So be on the lookout for those.
100%. Remember, guys, to check those out. You can check out the link below. It's therichreport.com. The link is in the description below. So, Cam, let's jump into some of our topics today. The NBA's 2020 Hall of Fame class includes Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, and Kevin Garnett, and Magic Johnson says it is the greatest Hall of Fame class of all time. What do you say to this, and do you think he was right? Is this the greatest Hall of Fame class of all time?
Well, I think just from a talent level, I think with just having Kobe Bryant, Duncan, and Garnett all on it, it's got to be one of the best ever. Not to mention, you have two all-time great coaches with Rudy Tomjanovich and Kim Mulkey, who's the head coach at Baylor. So I think for an accolade standpoint, this is definitely the best. Talent-wise, I mean, there's some classes I'm looking at that I can compare it to. I would say 2009 with Michael Jordan, David Robinson, and you got Jerry Sloan on there as well as John Stockton. So that's a comparable class. And then I would look at 1995 as well. I mean, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Shea Miller, who are arguably the two best when it comes to just the best male basketball player ever and the best female basketball player ever. So there's really, I think from an NBA standpoint, it's the best class ever. But if I'm looking at all time throughout all of basketball, I think 95 and 2009 come the closest to it.
Exactly. Those are the kind of the classes I was looking at. And this class this year, total, you have 48 all-star selections and 11 NBA championships in a total from Duncan, Kobe Bryant, and Garnett. And when we jump over to that 2009 class with Michael Jordan, Stockton, and David Robinson, you have three of the players, I think, from the Dream Team, which all really do kind of give that own special feel within that type of class. You have arguably the best player in NBA history with that. You have an all-time leading scorer in assists and steals with Stockton, and you have a 10-time All-Star with David Robinson. Personally, I kind of agree with you. I think the closest one when it comes to physical accolades, closest to this year would be that 2009 class. But when you look at the talent in this year's, just the physical dominance of all these players in the league, and the fact that every one of them at one point could have been easily considered the best player in the entire NBA. So that's why I think this class is the number one, is because I don't think at a time Stockton was ever considered. He might have been considered the best point guard of all time, but I definitely don't think he was considered the best player in the NBA, versus all the rest of these three guys is at one point they were the best player in the league and everyone knew it too.
Yeah, 100%.
And jumping in just to different, I think personally I would rank them definitely as number one, and without question I think they have the best competition to at least hold this record for a while, because I don't see any classes coming up soon. Maybe a LeBron class or along the lines of a Kevin Durant class if they came and were in the same class later in the career. But I don't see anyone right now taking that or any past one really going above that other than that 2009 class, right?
Yeah.
So jumping over, we have the impact of Tom Brady. He was traded to the Buccaneers. First off, I just want to know, what was your reaction to when he got traded?
When we first heard that Tampa Bay was a possibility, I was like, yeah, probably. But when they first came into the fold, I was a little bit surprised. I didn't expect Brady to go from the dynasty of the Patriots to a team that really has not been relevant in quite some time. I think their last playoff appearance was 2004, if I'm correct on that. And to go from New England to have to like wheel a team to the playoffs, it's an interesting move. I commend Brady for taking on the challenge, but at the same time, it's a little bit confusing. They have a great offense. I love Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. They're two top 10 wide receivers in the league. But here's the thing, though. Last year, Brady didn't really show all that much with the deep ball, and both Godwin and Mike Evans do their best work when given the deep ball. So are they willing to sacrifice the deep ball threat? Well, most of it, because who knows what Brady's arm's at right now. But they're gonna have to take some of those checkdowns, and they're gonna get hit a lot more than they did in previous years. So it will be interesting to see what their reaction will be to that once the season gets started.
Exactly. More of when I really look at this trade, and I think I don't know what Tom Brady's trying to prove. He said that he doesn't need to prove anything else to anyone but himself, which I mean, I guess is kind of true at this point. I think he's proven enough in the league and he's gotten as much as he can out of it. But in my truly opinion, the only things I really think he brings to the team are, one, his winning experience, his veteran experience. And I think the way that him and Bill Belichick ran the Patriots for so long, I think he's going to bring some of that mentality to get these teams, to get them to start winning. And also just for the fact that Tom Brady's a big name, and they were able to re-sign Ndamukong Suh because of the fact that Tom Brady was coming, which was a huge portion of that defense that I believe has struggled for so long. And I think the biggest, and I think the funniest, best attribute of bringing Tom Brady was the fact that they just got rid of Jameis Winston. He was not it, and he's not the answer for them. And I don't know, would you agree with that? Do you think Jameis Winston, they should have kept him? Should they have kept trying to see what he could do? I mean, he threw 30 touchdowns, but I don't know if you're ever going to win with a quarterback who throws 30 interceptions in a season.
Yeah, it's a tough situation, especially when you also look at Cam Newton with the Panthers and him getting cut. Newton, not a guy you can bench and really have someone mentor him. It's just he's been in the league too long. Jameis, I felt like he still could have. There was still room for him to be mentored by an older quarterback, So if he might not have been happy at first having to settle for a backup position, but the man's still young. He's still got time to improve. He's proven he can throw the ball. It's just whether or not he can bring down those interceptions. He has all the potential in the world, and if he could just get a guy that can mentor him, a la Tom Brady, I think it could have worked out in his favor. But here we are, and he's a free agent, and there's really no market for either Winston nor Newton at all.
Yeah, at this point, it was more of like I was having the conversation a little bit earlier with how Aaron Rodgers takes no risk and Drew Brees took too many risks. When it came to Jameis Winston, you just had one guy who took every single risk. He saw triple team. He's like, well, I guess, Evans could catch it probably. But a lot of times, I think he took too many risks, and he had the good arm, and he had the right ideas sometimes. I just think agree. He needed someone else to come in and really teach him. But coming from a starting role of Jameis Winston, a all-star college player at Florida State, and coming into the NFL, and when you start for as long as he did, it would be kind of hard to step back and really understand, especially at a young age. Like Eli Manning was more understanding. He's so old, he's past his prime, and he knew that too. So it was okay for him to step down. But for a player like Winston, who's been in the league for only a couple years, has shown some signs of really building up and getting better as a quarterback itself, it would be hard for him, I think, to just step back and let an older player who might be a little bit out of their prime to really show him the ropes and kind of give him that. But I just don't know where he'd land, and neither with Cam Newton, to be honest. I just don't know where either of these two really would find the best place. Personally, I could see Cam Newton maybe in Pittsburgh or Winston in Pittsburgh, or even in Dallas. I don't know. I'm not a huge Dak Prescott fan. You know that. I don't think he's the greatest, but I think with coaching of Mike McCarthy in that type of offense, one of those two, they just need to feel. I feel like they just need to be kind of mature a little bit and to stop thinking it's all about them and think about it more about the team's aspect of it.
Yeah, and I've seen some videos of Cam Newton throwing. Now, granted, it's just a practice, but he is throwing the ball a lot better and with a lot more velocity than he did all of last season before he went out. So maybe there's more potential there. I mean, the guy has the talent to be the best quarterback in the league in any given year. It's just, can he overcome those injuries and can he stop from getting injured is the real question. At 30 years old, you're not young anymore. We're not going to see the Cam Newton we saw in his first couple years and leading all the way into the Super Bowl. So,
and personally, he just can't do what he used to do the year they went to the Super Bowl against the Broncos. You can't run for 500 yards in the season, and you can't take the big hits or flip over the defensive line like that. He's just going to get hurt way more often, and that is where he's at the stages. He's way more injury prone than he was when he was younger, and I think he's let his athleticism take him as far as it can go, and now at this point he really needs to settle down and really just learn from his mistakes and mature more, but also learn how to adjust. Me and my friends always have a joke. We always say great players adjust, and I think this is the time Cam Newton really needs to adjust into a more pocket passing, settled quarterback. Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%. But is he willing? Will he be willing to have his ego take a step back so that he can become that quarterback, that more intelligent one at that?
I mean, he even said it a few years ago. I'd rather play video games than watch film. Which, to me, coming from a head coach's perspective of a guy who's super athletic and has been losing that's really hard to take away and think, yeah, I want this guy leading my offense into wins, and that is just not what's going to happen if he continues to have this ego.
Yeah, 100%.
And then finally, Tom Brady. What do you think they'll be able to do this season? Do you think they're going to be a 10-win team, an 8-win team, 5-win team? Do you think this is going to be a disappointment, or do you think Tom Brady still has a little bit left in the tank?
I mean, I don't ever not have faith in Brady. Yeah, last year was really the fluke in his entire career. So who knows? I love Bruce Arians. I think Bruce Arians is a phenomenal coach. I think it's about anyone. So I think having that is big compared to previous coaches in the Bucs history. So having Arians is going to help out. Brady, I mean, I don't see this team winning the NFC South because the NFC South Saints. I think the Panthers are going to surprise a lot of people going in next year with Teddy Bridgewater and then having offensive geniuses in Matt Rule and Joe Brady. I think they're going to make some big noise. I think the biggest team taking the L in that conference has to be the Falcons with those god ugly jerseys.
So you don't like the new jerseys?
I hate them so much.
I thought they were clean.
I hate contrasting jerseys that are like black jerseys with white pants. Oh, it's awful.
Okay, yeah, I would agree with you. I don't like the black and white, but I do really like the all black and the all white.
Yeah,
I love those two. That's my favorite type of jerseys. All black jerseys with like a black helmet, and then like all white jerseys. Those look clean. But yeah, the black and the white, they don't look.
If it was like a dark and another dark color, yeah, but yeah. I'm not okay with.
That's why the Ravens are my favorite. That dark purple with the black, I think those are the cleanest ones without question. So jumping over to our new topic, something I am not as much knowledgeable about as my friend Cameron here is John Cena versus Bray Wyatt. The WWE matchup that everyone is raving about. It's said to be one of the most unique matches. My question for you is, why is it? Why would it be considered one of the most unique matchup? What was so important about a matchup like this and just the scenarios?
Well, first off, you have to credit WWE with just being able to still put on a pretty high quality show when this is their biggest event and they couldn't do it in front of any fans. You go from event that usually sells out. You have about 80,000 to 100,000 fans in the stands, and that's where the wrestlers feed off of their whole character, all their gimmicks and all that. And now they got to do it in front of no crowd, and it's still delivered. Now, John Cena and Bray Wyatt. Otherwise, Bray Wyatt has this gimmick known as the Fiend. It's like an alter ego, his character. But man, the storytelling that they do leading up to this it was something rare that we don't see from WWE nowadays because they're creative team hasn't been the best since I stopped watching it. I'm just now getting back into it since I was a kid. The quality of the product has gone down tremendously in the last decade. So there's that. But this match itself, man, it it brought back a lot of nostalgia. It was interesting because it wasn't like performed live. It was a sort of the cinematic movie-ish type of, you know, filming that they did, sort of like in night one because it was split into two nights. So at the first night they had Undertaker go against AJ Styles in this boneyard match where they fought in some stage graveyard, and that was fun. It added a lot more depth to the character of the Undertaker, and you should know who Undertaker is, right, Jacob?
Yeah, I do know who the Undertaker is. That and the Big Show were always my favorite. I did watch a lot of them when I was younger for some reason. Those two always. I just like the Big Show. He was just massive, and he reminded me of like the guy from The Longest Yard. You know, like the big offensive dude. You know what I mean? Talking about for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, they were, even with Undertaker being 55 years old, they were still able to add more to his character, and maybe he'll come back again. Now he's put on social media that it was a fun ride, but he's done this the last like 10 years. So I would expect him to make some sort of comeback for 2021 when WrestleMania will be in Los Angeles, and I plan on attending that, hopefully, if I can get the funds for it.
Yeah, 100%. Well, yeah, but coming back from another perspective of someone who does not watch it as much as maybe you or other WWE fans, what would you say to some people that don't watch this at a consistent basis? What would you say? Why is this so interesting to you, and why is this sport, which I would say is not as broadcasted as well as maybe football, basketball, baseball, or soccer? What would you say? What would you say to fans to try to get them to come really watch this? Because everyone's been raving about it, and it's really like woken me up to like start watching it and really get into it. What would you say are the most important things and the most important aspects to come in with knowing?
It's just a fun getaway. You know, you don't have to take it seriously at all because it's all scripted, it's all storyline. You just have to really buy into it and just embrace whatever comes. Yeah, there's a lot of cringy moments that happen in pro wrestling. Don't get me wrong, whether it be WWE, NXT, and the newly formed All Elite Wrestling, which is phenomenal, by the way. Go check that out as well. Check out all the pro wrestling. There shouldn't be this rivalry going on. All pro wrestling feeds off of each other, and they should all be embraced. We shouldn't be pitting one versus the other. It's all tremendous product. But if you're trying to get into pro wrestling now, I would say start with NXT, which is they're developmental, but oh my God, the talent there and what they do down there with Triple H, which is probably another name you've heard of, Jacob.
Yes.
That he runs that entire show, and the characters that come out of that, the talent level that comes out of that is just insane. And to me and my brother both talked about it. We think NXT, which is a developmental show, is better than the main shows of Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown. They just provide better entertainment than those of what the main roster does. It's great stuff. But yeah, you have fun with it. If you take it too seriously, you're like, oh, well, it's all storytelling, then you're not going to have fun. If you just buy into it, have some fun, sit back, you don't take it seriously. There's no win or losing. It's just something you can just have fun with on a Monday or Friday night.
100%. Well, jumping over into our last topic of the show, iRacing. And since NASCAR has been shut down to the coronavirus, they have found an alternative way to entertain its fans. They have now decided to hold racing competitions amongst racers in a live video game racing competition. And although the tensions might have grown, I'm a huge believer that when someone is professional at one thing or at a sport or let's say music, they are terrible at the video game alternative. And racer Bubba Wallace proved that this Sunday as he lost his sponsorship Blue Emu because of his actions rage quitting during one of the events. Do you think these actions were correct, and did he deserve it?
Look, he's not one to hide his emotions, and I mean, what happened, I would have been mad too, but I'm not a professional race car driver. Yeah, you could say they're a little bit childish, but at the same time, I don't think Bubba wanted to waste his time, because when it comes to iRacing, you only get two resets, and he used up both of them. So if he were to enter back into the race, he'd have to ride around for like 100+ laps with a destroyed car. And the the physics that they use on iRacing is comparable to the real thing, so it would not have been fun for him. And it was either right around last place, getting passed left and right all the time, or sit it out. And I think it's fair to do that. I mean, it shouldn't be something you take seriously. And to have a sponsor say, we want drivers, not quitters, I think it's a little bit too much. I think we're taking this a little bit too seriously than we need to. Now, the first two races where he did Homestead in Texas, those were all fun. It was all in fun. Nobody was getting mad at each other. And here we are now after Bristol. And Bristol in real life, we got the same driver reactions that you would in real life. Everybody's mad after the race. So, I mean, I, if there is just one message to get out, is just don't take it too seriously. It shouldn't be something that has real life consequences, especially when no one's really working right now.
Exactly. I would agree with you on that one. Personally, I just see like people understand like with the NBA doing it right now with like a lot of the different players playing 2K, it's kind of the same aspect. No one's really taking that seriously, and they're making kind of fun of each other. I believe I think this is a new form of entertainment though that we as sports fans can watch right now. And if you're a sports fan, make sure you tune into some of this stuff because this is pretty much all we're going to get for a little while. I think it's definitely more interesting than just having nothing at all. And I think it's the best we can do with what the situation is now. But yeah, I would agree. I've played video games probably since I was like 5 or 6 years old. I have had plenty of my moments of rage quitting and getting mad, and I get it. And to be honest, I've never gotten punished for doing it. It wasn't that big of a deal. You get mad really quick and then you get over it. And I get it. I've played video games my whole life. So when you look at a professional racer in a sponsorship in a business, the guys on Twitter, the reactions on Twitter from a lot of the fans watching it and giving him a little crap for what he did, understand that a lot of the kids probably giving him the crap have rage quit too. And the sponsorships are understand that they're just trying to mess with him and give him crap as video game players and as fans really do. So I didn't think it was a proper response to actually pull his sponsorship. I mean, guys get mad. Like NBA, WNBA, NFL, XFL, NHL, ML, everyone gets mad, and even some of the guys on 2K right now are rage quitting or like cussing sometimes on live television. But they did that. They do that anyway. You just can't hear it because they're recording it. They're so far away from the microphones.
Yeah, I mean, if you go on, like, just say Twitch once a night and you see a NBA player go live, it's all uncensored. They're cursing up the storm and all that. So it's really, if you're playing video games, it's really no different to just streaming on Twitch versus actually going on live TV. You're going to have the exact same reactions.
Yeah, and you can definitely tell, even if some of the players in like you're watching live on when they're playing their sports, you can kind of tell what they're saying. You can't hear them, but you know exactly what they're trying to say. But for right now, is this the best alternative you could think of, or is there any other alternative for either racing or any of the other sports that have shut down? Or is there any alternative other than the video game version to really come and entertain the fans? Is there a different way to do it?
Well, I'm biased, so I'll say that watching iRacing is just good for publicity and trying to introduce a new generation of fans because that's definitely in need for all motorsports, whether it be NASCAR, Formula One, or IndyCar.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a fun thing, to watch. Yeah, it's not. You have to really just say, hey, you know what, I'm willing to learn about it because that's really what it takes to get into motorsports. You gotta be willing to learn a lot because it's a lot to understand. But I mean, if you're fairly new to sports, if you're casual anywhere, or if you're just a hardcore fan, go back and watch some of the classics. There's stuff going on every day on TV, on ESPN, NBC Sports Network, Fox. They're all showing classic games from all sports. So that would be a good time to sort of brush up on your history as well instead of watching some of these new things. Go back and watch games from the 90s and 80s, and that's when you can get a good comparison of play styles to back then versus what they are now. And I think the best thing I saw so far from this was Big Cat from Barstool Sports. He tweeted out one night, he was like, how did people in the 80s and 90s just not have a score graphic and just be okay with it. Because yeah, if I can watch some of those, you never saw the score 24/7. It would just pop up from time to time. And yeah, I was losing my mind too. I'm like, where's the score? Do I really have to keep track there? So yeah, I don't know how people bought it back then.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm crazy if I couldn't see a score graphic.
And do you think the video game, like the aspect, because personally, I think since video games have blown up the past couple of years, because Twitch did it with like Ninja, the game of Fortnite blew up, and is this going to bring in a new form of fans, someone to enjoy video game and maybe watched one or two of the iRacing things and saw a guy they really liked or was really good, and then they go watch NASCAR and they're like, oh my gosh, I remember watching that guy on an iRacing competition. Do you think this is a good opportunity for them to bring in a new dynamic of people, and to be honest, just a younger generation who have fallen away from the sport in general? Is this a way to get these guys to start watching it?
Yeah, I think, and especially when NASCAR peaked in 04 and 05, everybody was raving over their video games. That's where it started from. NASCAR Thunder 2004 and Chase for the Cup 2005 were all phenomenal video games, and that's when NASCAR really saw its peak before stuff happened and they down spiraled all from there. But yeah, I think video games help out a lot. Now, the one thing I'm not a big fan of is if video games become like a sanctioned official thing to where it's now competitions and real life stuff to where it's more than just a video game. It's now all of a sudden there's real consequences that come with playing video games. I just don't. I'm not a big supporter of that. I think if you want to be on the same level as a professional athlete that puts in years of work to get to where they're at, you have to do that. You can't just pick up a controller and all of a sudden you're as big as a star as LeBron James.
Yeah. Which I would agree. I think it's fun, and I think it's more fun if the people racing are professional race car drivers, and I think they should limit to showing only the professional race car drivers, because in the end of the day, there are a lot of kids who can get pretty good at video games from sitting there on the sticks, versus you can't really jump into a car and start driving 200, 300 miles an hour and be able to actually drive safely or drive well. So that's why I think it's a good thing right now to get a new crowd in. If they focus on just the professional athletes themselves, I think it would be better, just because there are a lot of kids who could get good at video games no matter what. And I agree with you. I don't think this should be a thing like a normal thing. Once sports are back, this should slow down and not be a huge part of the sport anymore. But for right now, just give it that little oomph and that little more attention, which I think they deserve as well.
Yeah.
Well, Cameron, that is all the time we have for today. Remember, you can check out his website, The Rich Report, down below. If you want to follow him on Twitter, he is always active on Twitter. I'm seeing his tweets all the time. That link is also below and also right under his name, at The Rich Report. Cameron, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for just being with us today. Remember, guys, you can check out the show every single Wednesday and Friday at 12:30 Mountain Standard Time. Also, make sure to hit that subscribe button and click that notification bell to get notified every single time I put out a new video. I go live, and I'm going to have different guys on from now on for the week. So, Cameron, thank you for being the very first one. We really appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Jacob.